Good morning. I'm here this morning with Brigitte Melnick of Inside Info Marketing. Brigitte is a dear friend of mine who I connected with many years ago.
Right.
And I'm delighted to have a conversation with her and see where it leads. Because that's what it's about. This series is about introducing people that I have great respect for, great love for, and who I think add tremendous value to the world, and sharing these people with the world, with my people, with the people in my world. So welcome, Brigitte. Good morning, and thank you so much for taking the time to connect in this way.
Thank you very much for connecting. It's a
So,
pleasure to be here.
Awesome. I had started, and before we recorded, asking Brigitte a question that I ask everybody, as I said to her, whether I'm being interviewed or whether I'm interviewing the person.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, what is your intention for our time today? And what would you like to get out of this? And what she was saying was so juicy that I decided, wait, let's back up and start the recording. So here we are.
Yeah, you said time out.
Yeah.
We have to start recording.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is your intention for our time?
Well, my intention, of course, is that people get to know me and what I do in my business. Because as I said before, we really sell ourselves first, and especially in the coaching business.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that we met quite a few years ago at Suzanne Evans' events.
Yeah.
And we connected right away, because it's very important to talk about what you do and talk about how you feel, etc., etc. So I always say we have to sell ourselves first. People like to connect. You know, they want to, if you're a coach, people want to know what you're about, how you feel. They want to take your programs, which is one thing, because that's the business building aspect of it. But they want to know how you feel, what you are, what you think. And that's why the personal connection is so important.
And who you are is what I'm saying.
And yes, and who you are. So I always say to people that I encounter here and there, we really have to start by selling ourselves.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting because to me, selling ourselves is just being ourselves, right?
Correct.
Who you are being is what sells you, because your people connect with who you are, right? So part of what you do, part of your gift that you bring through your business is connecting people to events, and helping people who are having events put it out in the world, right? Helping people. So tell us a little bit more about.
Correct.
I want to know more about you, but let's get this out of the way. I want people to understand why they should be interested in you, in first of all, and how you serve them, because I love that.
Okay. Well, my company, as I said, is Inside Info Marketing. Mm-hmm. And I connect business and life coaches to speaking and sponsorship opportunities that otherwise they wouldn't know about. If you're a coach, you're busy getting leads, talking to clients, etc. And but there's a whole different part of the business, which is appearing on stage, which events to go to, who is doing a teleseminar that you want to be interviewed at, who is doing the podcast that you need to listen to, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. I started the business about 5 years ago, and it started by accident, really. And why I say that is because a friend of mine who's a business coach and said to me one day, "Oh, Gita, I really want you to help me with this. I subscribe to like 17 people, and they're always sending me emails. Normally, you send out an email to your list once a week or more." And he said, "They're cluttering out my inbox, and I actually want to know. I want to know where they go to, what are the events, what kind of programs they have, their services, etc., etc. these are my people. There are 17 people. So he said, just put it on a spreadsheet and subscribe to them and give me the information whenever I ask. Okay, I can do that. That's easy. So that's how I started. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I started with the 17 people. And if one of those 17 people was being interviewed by somebody else, then I would look at that somebody else, what they had to offer, and then I would start subscribing to them. Mm-hmm. So now I subscribe to about 2,000 people.
Wow.
All coaches, 99% are from the US. I have a few in Canada, a few in England, and a few in Australia. But the majority of the coaching industry is in the United States. Mm-hmm. And so I get, every day, I get about 350 to 400 emails.
Wow.
That I scan for events, teleseminars, podcasts. Now we have Facebook Live, all those things. Mm-hmm. They go on a spreadsheet, all that information, and I sell subscriptions to my calendar. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I sell information. That's really what I do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I find that the people that subscribe to my calendar, they go into 3 categories. The first is that they want to go on stage. They want to know which stage they can go on. Mm-hmm. So they want to know speaking and sponsorship opportunities. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they want to rent a booth in one of the 3-day events because they want to speak to all the attendees. You know, they want to have a booth and offer their services, etc. Mm-hmm. And the other people is because the second category, they want to know what their colleagues, their peers, or their competition is doing. Mm-hmm. Because we all have somebody that we either look up to and we're curious what they're doing, etc., because it's in the same space where we are at. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the last category are people that are thinking about putting on a live event, let's say in December, October, and they want to know who else is putting on the live event. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So this is all information that if you're a coach, you don't really have time to do that. That's not your job.
Right.
You know, you need to push a button somewhere and get all the information. Yeah. So that's why people subscribe to my calendar, for information. And I love to do it because I have an investigative mind. You know, it's what I like to do. Yeah. And then, of course, I go to events and then I meet more people, and now I'm coming back to selling myself. You know, people will say, well, what do you do, Gitte? Well, this is what I do.
Yeah.
But first of all, of course, we sell ourselves.
Yes. You know, it's interesting because as you were speaking, what I was hearing is, I mean, I hear you when you say that you sell information, but beyond that, I think the true value that I hear in that is that you connect people, and in this day and age when people are so busy, making a meaningful connection, clearing away the dross, right, and sifting through all the information to find the meaningful connections, right, can save so much time and effort. And the other thing is, what you do is you give people back time. And you give them back joy, because I'm telling you, many of us do not like sifting through emails.
No.
It's an energy drain, right? So
I understand, because that's not what you do.
Right.
That's not your focus.
Right. Yeah. So every time you free up someone to be able to play more in their zone of genius, to me, that's such tremendous value. Such tremendous value, because I talk to clients, I help people, connect with their juicy joy every day, right? My clients. So part of that is looking at, well, what are the pieces that are not joyful for you, and where can you delegate those, or where can you bring more joy to them, or whatever. And email is a big energy and time sucker that a lot of people, like literally, sometimes people open their email and they go, ugh.
I know exactly what you mean. I open up my emails, I say, oh, good. I have 400 emails I have to read today.
There you go.
So yes, we all have different focus.
Yeah. And the other part of it too is that you help people to zoom in on the places and the people where they can get more visibility. That's what I heard as well. So I often hear things behind what people are saying.
That's good. Well, it's just something I just love to do it.
Yes.
If you're a coach and you have clients and like you shouldn't spend your time looking for information.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right.
And the other thing is that if you have a virtual assistant that you can pay anywhere from $20 to $80 an hour, depending on what they do. That's not her job either.
Right.
She would have to sit there. I spend probably 3 hours, 4 hours every day updating it. It gets updated daily. And that's not her job. Her job is something else, So that's why my calendars is so important to so many people. They push a button and then they can see everything that's going on.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I hear an accent. I know you live in Canada, but I hear an accent. So tell us a little bit about who is Brigitte and where did your life journey start out and how did you end up where you are now?
Helen, I've decided that I don't like the word accent anymore.
Okay, tell me what you like.
There's something about, you speak with an accent, Geeta. Yeah, it's true. I speak several languages. I speak them with an accent, all of them.
Yes.
However, I've decided that now I want to speak with flair instead of with accent.
I love it.
There you go. I'm speaking with flair.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm born in Denmark, and I'm raised in Venezuela. I went to Venezuela at a very young age. I think I was 7. And I grew up there. And I'm in Canada because I was married to a Canadian.
Okay.
You never know where you're going to end up in life.
Yes.
It's an adventure. Life is an adventure. That's the way I like to look at it.
Yeah.
So I was born in Denmark. I went to Venezuela. I grew up in Venezuela. My dad was a brewmaster. So at some point, he traveled to India. So I spent a couple of years in India also. I was about 18 at the time. And then I decided that I really wanted to go and see what Denmark was all about, because that's where I was born. So I figured, okay, I'm going to go and see what Denmark is all about. So I lived with my grandmother for 3 years. And after 3 years, I had enough. I said, okay, this is not my country. I have more of a Latin soul. I better start going south. So I went to Spain. And I lived in Madrid for 5 years. I loved Spain. I mean, it's one of the beautiful countries of the world, Spain. I love the food, the language, the music, the culture, the way people act. I just loved it. That's where I met my husband.
I love it.
So there you go. And then he said, I'm from Canada. And I almost said, and where's that? It sounded like way up there.
Well, it was far away.
It was far away. And, it sounded very similar to the Scandinavian countries, Canada. There's got to be a lot of snow. It has to be very cold and all that. Anyway, but I married him and we moved to Canada. So there you go.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. Yeah. How was it? How do you think that all of these different, because you've such varied cultures that you've immersed yourself in through living there, how have you blended them all to, I mean, because I feel like you embody all of them, even in Canada.
Well, yes, because we take little bits of all the places that we visit. But, I really have to thank my dad. My dad was a very smart and wise guy. And when I first arrived in Venezuela, I was 7, 8. And I can't really remember when I had the conversation with him because I was little. But I remember him saying to me, you know, now that we're in Venezuela, you have to consider yourself Venezuelan. Because now you're going to have Venezuelan friends, you're going to learn Spanish, you're going to go to a Venezuelan school, you're going to eat Venezuelan food, and you're going to have Venezuelan culture. So you're Venezuelan. Forget about Denmark. You're no longer there. Nobody's interested in that.
Wow.
And you know, it stuck with me my whole life. And that's why when I go to another country, like when I lived in Spain, I you know, that was in the back of my mind, and I just lived the culture, the food, everything. I became Spanish. That's because that's the way I grew up.
Yeah.
And coming to Canada was the same thing. You know, I said, okay, this is my new country. This is my country. It doesn't matter where you've been.
Yeah.
You know, I read a very interesting saying the other day. Be loyal to your future, not your past. And I thought about it, and I said, you know, it is so true, because our home is where we live. It's not where our ancestors came from, because that's really not important.
Right.
And it's very important to have your, let's see, how can I say that? Your identity, your personality is where you live. Even though you bring, you know, like you say, I bring a little bit of Spanish into my life and a little bit of Venezuelan food I cook, and I know how to speak Spanish, and I dance, and all that. That is brought in. But this is my country.
Right.
Because this is where I live.
Right. It's interesting. What you're describing is choosing to be fully present where you are.
Correct.
And when you're fully present, you can't leave out the pieces of you that's everywhere you've been has influenced you. But you're choosing to be fully present where you are now and bring your all of that and embrace all of where you are now just accepting what is and being fully present with it, which to me makes it all so much richer.
Yes. You know, going back to that culture thing, when I first came to Canada, and Canada is a beautiful country. It's big, it's beautiful, it's sort of a melting pot of a whole bunch of cultures. And I would meet people that would say, oh, I'm half Irish. And I would sort of think, which part is Irish? I mean, which half are we talking about? And, you know, and I thought, this is really weird. Why do they have this identity crisis in their mind that how can they be? And then I would meet somebody who say, I'm half Italian. Half Italian. And I would think, which half is that? Is that the top half or the bottom? They don't speak Italian. They've never been to Italy. They have no clue. They feel half Italian. I just find that fascinating, how anybody wants to say that. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We are grasping for identities, right? And it's interesting for, even if, you know, as business owners, right? It's that's what we do too, right? We're grasping for these identities of, well, I'm this, or and the truth is, I am not what I do.
No.
Right? I am who I am, and I am the person who does that.
Correct.
And I'm also the person who does that, and I'm also the person who's a mother or a wife, so we have all these roles. But
that's what I do. I know, but,
yes.
but I'm different. I have a different personality, you know.
Yeah.
And I think differently. And of course, living in different countries I have a different attitude also. Because that I bring to the table, just a different attitude and a different, I'm a lot more tolerant and a lot more accepting. Because having lived in different cultures and having met different people, you understand that. I mean, the world is big.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, it's getting smaller with internet.
Mm-hmm.
So we really have to be a lot more accepting and a lot more tolerant.
Yes.
Yes, of cultures and of other people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I find that when we learn, whatever we practice with ourselves is, whatever we gift to ourselves is then easier to gift to others. So if I practice tolerance with myself and acceptance with myself, it's easier, or as I've personally learned to do that in my own life, it's easier for me to do it, to gift that to others, because I can't give what I don't already have.
Correct.
So let me ask you, in terms of, for me, the way I've come to think about it is that business is just another path of soul growth, right? It's about who you become in the process of growing a successful business, and who you are in your business. To me, that determines success. And I do believe that ultimately we each get to choose and decide and define success for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So how do you define success in your business? Number one, that's the first thing. And do you believe your business has a soul?
Oh, that's a good one. Yes, of course it has a soul, because I'm part of my business. So it has to have a soul. I have a soul. And of course. And, my business is 5 years old. I started it 5 years ago. And I still do it because I love to do it. That doesn't mean that 5 years from now I'm still doing it.
Right.
Because we don't know. Yeah. We don't know what happens tomorrow, the next day, but it doesn't matter. We always have to think what we're doing presently. And success in my business means that I'm happy doing it. The day that I'm not happy doing it any longer, it's not a successful business because I'm not 100% involved in it anymore. Yeah. That's really how I define success. Yeah. Am I really happy doing it? Yes, I love to do it. Okay. Yeah. And that's it. And I need a lot of nice people. One of the things is that they subscribe to the calendar. That's one part of it. But I telephone them. I'm in touch. If there's anything that they need, they call me. Because I know so many different businesses, sometimes people will call me for a person that they're looking for. Do you know somebody that does this and this and this and this? Yeah, I do.
You're a connector.
I'm a connector.
You really are.
I'm a connector. It's true. Yeah. And then, of course, a lot of people talk about me. They'll go on stage and say, "Oh, you're looking, but you need to subscribe to this website because of this and this and this and this."
Yeah.
Anyway, so going back to the question about success, as long as I like my business, it's successful.
I love it. I love it. I'm right there with you. That's a huge part of it for me. That kind of takes care of everything. Because if you have a team that you love working with and they're effective and they're efficient, that contributes to you loving your business. If you're making income, consistent income, right? The amount that makes each person satisfied, happy, fulfilled is different, right? So for some people it's millions of dollars. So some people it's, tens of thousands. For some people it's hundreds of thousands. So we get to choose, right? We get to create.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're all different, thank goodness.
Yes.
I mean, if we all like the same guy, there would be a lot of guys that are just sitting waiting for nothing, right? We all like different people, thank goodness.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yes.
Just great.
Yeah. But tell me, what's your favorite thing about what you do? Like, what's the thing that lights you up most about your business?
People.
Meeting people.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I
Yeah.
love that.
Again, connecting.
Again, connecting. I love to go to the events
Yeah.
and meet new people.
Mm-hmm.
And you go over to the coffee machine, and there's always 10 people standing around. Well, you know that. You
Yeah.
stand around the coffee machine, and they say, "Oh, what a nice top you have. Oh, you look so cute. What do you do?" And we start to talk and we start to connect. I love that.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm very good at connecting. I get there because I'm curious about what people do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and people love to talk about themselves again, that they're selling themselves.
Yes.
So I usually start by signing them up to a complimentary newsletter, and then I call them, and
Yes.
it's
Yes.
sales.
Yes. Yes. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I love it. For me, I've found absolutely, I love meeting people. I love connecting with people as well, new people, and events were probably the fastest way I grew my business.
Yes.
And then speaking at them, of course. But just connecting with people, it just expands your world. It really does. It expands your world. And especially if you're a solopreneur sitting behind your desk by yourself in your business. It feeds it. Well, for me, it feeds a part of my soul. It feeds a need in me to connect and to get to know people and to see and be seen. So, yeah.
It's true. We learn from other people.
Yeah.
They always talk about surround yourself with people that you admire or that you want to learn something from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true. We really want to learn. We want to expand our knowledge, whether it's business or personal, emotional. We always want to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I love to speak with people. I think it's fascinating to talk to them and find out what they're interested in, what is their path, where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
I especially like to talk with people that like to go on stage and speak, because I'm not very good at that. I don't mind telling you. Standing up on stage in front of 700 people, ooh, that's a difficult one.
That makes you feel how some people feel looking at their email.
There you go. That's not my focus. That's not my focus.
Yeah.
But I love the teleseminars. I love what you do, that you pick up the phone and we're talking and we're doing an interview. That's great. That I can do very well because I'm one-on-one and you ask me questions.
Yes, yes.
That whole thing about standing on stage, that's a different one.
and interestingly, right? Because I think it's just about putting ourselves out there in the way that feels it feels good to us individually. So, because interestingly, getting on a stage in front of 700 people may not make you feel like, wow, that's what I want to do. But you're getting on this stage, and ultimately this stage may reach millions.
Correct.
Which is interesting, right? So there's always a way to do what we need to do in a way that is comfortable and feels aligned for us. And to me, that's part of also creating a business model that feels good, that feels successful.
I know that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Going back to this thing about going on stage, I'm always in awe of people that stand up there and they just talk. We've been to Suzanne Evans. Let's pick her, for example. I mean, she stands there for 3 days and she talks. And you can hear a pin drop.
Yes.
You might have 700 people or 1,000 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody pays attention because she is mesmerizing.
Yeah.
She knows how to put the words together, and she knows how to create that impact, which is very. I mean, I'm fascinated by speakers that go on stage. Fascinating.
From my own journey, I know that it actually comes more naturally to some people than others, but it's a skill that can be learned by anyone.
Absolutely.
If the desire is there, you know, if it's would be joyful for somebody to do that. And it definitely, you know, when it's your thing, it just lights you up.
You know, Helen, it's true. And the way I feel about it today, that I'm hesitant about going on stage, that might change next week.
Exactly.
Again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is fascinating about life, because we have to be open to change.
Yes.
And you know, sometimes it's a habit that we have, and you know that you have to do something for 30 days to create a new habit.
Yes.
So there you go. I don't know, perhaps next week when we talk, we're going to say, Gita, you're coming on stage? Yeah, I'm really thinking about it.
I love it.
Yes.
To me, that's the adventure. I remember one year I literally, I decided, well, I'm going to get out there and speak more on stages. I want to be on bigger stages. And so I chose events, and I paid. I invested in it, right? I paid to be on those stages, and so that I could have the experience. Right? It was about me having the experience. And each time I'd be like, okay, so what do I want to do now? And I would see people do things, right? Like I'd see a speaker hold an audience and mesmerize them, like what you're speaking of, right? And I would, and then I would see them make an offer, and then everybody would get up and run to the back of the room.
I know.
And I said, I want to do that. So that's the next thing I did. And then I wanted them to get up and run to the back of the room to buy something from me. And so that's the next thing I did. And I just, to me, that's what it is. It's all a lovely, big, fun game. It's like, what do I want to do now? What do I want to create now? So, you know, I've decided this year, I'm about to launch July 1st, a world tour, my emancipation tour. Cause I'm like, I'm sick of, I want to facilitate certain conversations with groups of people, women particularly, but around the world, around power and about their own liberation, their own emancipation. Cause right. So it's like, that's what we get to do as entrepreneurs. Right?
That's a whole different discussion, the thing about girls. I mean, think about it. We're raised by insecure mothers. Let's face it. It's because of the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, my mother raised me at a time when women had no power.
Right.
Or very little. Right. Or Father Knows Best. Remember that TV show? Yes. So you know, it has taken us a few years before we said, well, I'm changing. I don't want to follow this pattern any longer. I'm going to create a new model for myself. Yeah. But there's a lot of girls that are still very stuck in that old paradigm.
And not just girls, women.
Yes,
I work with women who are 40 in their late 40s to 60s, mid 60s even, and late 60s, and who are not free because of that, because of exactly what you said. It's the way we've been raised, it's the way we've been conditioned, and until we actually go within and do the work and really to be willing to look at, well, where am I limiting myself?
Correct.
Right?
Because you know, so many people think that they are a certain way. It hasn't occurred to them that they can change it.
Yeah.
That they actually have a choice.
Yeah. Yes. Oh gosh. I will forever love and adore Louise Hay for teaching me that.
Oh, yes.
That was the first place that I learned that I actually had a choice and I could change my life, and I could. It was.
I remember reading that book, To Heal My Life.
You Can Heal Your Life. Yes.
And I said, my God. And you know, it sort of opened a whole new realm, because it never occurred to me that I could change.
Yes. Yeah.
I always thought, okay, this is the way I am. Yeah. No. We have a choice. We can be whatever we want.
Yeah.
And that it's fascinating. I love that because it's really true. Yeah. And we can heal our lives.
Yes.
We can make ourselves sick. We can make ourselves well. There we go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and you know, when you get up in the morning, you can choose happiness or you can choose to be sad.
Yes.
Or You can choose not to talk to anybody, or you can choose to smile as soon as you wake up.
Yeah.
It is a choice. It
Yeah.
is not, that's the way I am.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's interesting how even your beginnings, though, kind of set you up. Your dad taking your family to live in different places already showed you that, got you used to change. It might have been cultural changes. It might have been living in different places, but it was like literally, how would that shaped you and showed you possibilities, as opposed to someone who grew up only living in one town and with people who never leave that town. And you know what I'm saying? It's like that already in some way set you up for being more expansive.
I think when you talk about it like that,
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that what my dad taught me,
Mm-hmm.
he taught me adventure,
Mm-hmm.
because traveling,
Mm-hmm.
and no fear of new things.
Yes. What a gift. What a gift.
It really, it's a gift.
Yeah.
I think I was 22 when I packed my suitcase and I went to Madrid. And I remember my mother saying, "You're going to Madrid?" My mother was different. "You're going to Madrid? It's so far away." I said, "Yeah, I want to go to Madrid." And my dad said, "Oh, what a good idea." Right away, my dad said, "Oh, what a good idea. Have a good time."
Yes. Yes.
But he didn't, it wasn't something like, "Oh my God, it's a new country, new people, be careful, take care of yourself, lock your door, close your window." Oh, I didn't get any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I was out having a good time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it has really followed me.
Yeah.
And of course, then I got married and I have a son who
Yes.
and I have raised him the same way.
Yeah.
I've raised him, I mean, he was born in Canada. I've raised him to love this country. Now he lives in another country, and okay, he's part of that country now. He's not part of this one anymore. And it's very, he knows that. That's his truth. He's not attached. He's attached to the place where he lives, and that's his culture now. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I love that about him.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go back to, because I see in him, I didn't know your husband, but I see in your son what I felt in you when I first met you, which is a very it's an energy, because I read energy, right? We all read energy. We all just don't know that we do that. But what I felt in you was just an openness, like a welcoming, but a lightness. And with your son, he's very focused. So when he's focused, but it doesn't matter how focused he is. If I ever go up and I go, "Hey," he'll check out of whatever focus at hi, and then he'll drop back in. But there's an openness. There's a welcoming energy that is, I think, what connected us in the first place. I was curious about you, but I think that's because you're curious about people. So it's and this energy, and then it pulls in something that's an energetic or a vibrational match.
I think it's all energy.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Money is energy.
Yes. Yes.
Your energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
There
are a lot of interesting articles on Google that I start looking at, about energy, and it is, everything is energy.
Yeah.
Everything is.
Yeah.
Just think about, you can sit in a restaurant, and if you keep looking at somebody's back, eventually they're going to turn.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, what is that? Is it not energy? Come on.
I remember in high school, I had this girl who, I don't know what, she took one look at, sometimes people have issues. We don't know what they are. She took one look at me and decided that she did not like me. And I was not having any of that. Because at that time particularly, I really cared about what other people thought of me. And so but I remember I just used the energy. I would sit there and I would literally stare at her, at the back of her, until she would turn around, and then I would smile. It was like a game for me. And eventually we became very good friends.
I have this very good friend of mine, and she was going through a rough relationship. And she really wanted to split up. And anyway, she had a few issues along the way. And I said to her, just think, just image every day that see your better half walking out the door and walking away, and look at him smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Always look at his back. Just and keep it in your mind, because we manifest things. So going back to energy, that's all it is, energy.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, they split up. He did walk. So there you go. No. Energy is a wonderful thing.
Yes. We have so much more power than we would like to believe or are willing to accept, I think, and that power, when we can start to apply it, to really harness it intentionally, we can use it to, and particularly bring that into every aspect of our lives, including our business, right? Our health, our well-being, our friendships, our relationships, our money. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we go back to Louise Hay's book. That was all, you can heal your life. Yes. Take a look at her today. I mean, she's wonderful.
I actually was so impacted by that book that I actually went and I became a facilitator. So I used to teach those workshops. And as part of my training, we actually got to spend a day with Louise at her house in La Jolla.
Yes.
This was back in 1995, I think, or 92. Oh, anyway, it was a long time ago. Yeah. And I was so fascinated. She literally said to us, "You're welcome to go. There's nowhere in my house that's off limits. You can go anywhere." And so I was like, "Really? Anywhere?" She said, "Anywhere." So I got up and I went into her closet. And people followed me and said, "Do you think you can go in there?" I said, "She said anywhere." I always want to see what's behind the scenes. I want to see how people really live, because it tells me who they really are. And her closet was as organized as the rest of her house. She had those aerosol shoes in colors that I'm sure were made only for her, because I'd never seen those colors in the stores before. But she had the same style. Obviously, it was comfortable. She loved the style and the fit of it, and she had it in every color imaginable. And it opened up my mind, right? I was like, what else is possible? Oh my gosh, you get to create the life of your dreams. And it was powerful, very, very powerful spending time with her. She's iconic.
Well, she believes that.
Yes.
I mean, she lives it. Yes. That's it.
Yes.
You believe it. You can manifest whatever you want. It's energy.
Yes.
No, she's an incredible person.
Yes.
I've never met her, but I'm fascinated by her book.
And I watched her reinvent herself, because that was before. She'd have been in her 70s at that, or maybe late 60s. Anyway, she reinvented herself at 80. She was thinking about retiring, and then she goes, "What am I going to do if I retire?" So she just reinvented herself, and that's when she did the movie. That's when she actually did the movie, and then Hay House went to a whole nother level, and it's just interesting. I love it.
I know this. Interesting. We talk about words. That whole word retirement, to me, still is a negative word. I can't seem to flip it into a positive word, because I can't think of just sitting doing nothing. I love to do what I do. And people will say, "Well, you're semi-retired." What does that mean? Sometimes I sit and work at 8:00 at night. I don't have time. I only know that my calendar has to be updated on a daily basis. And
I have a friend. I'm actually going to interview her on this series, Dr. Barnett. And she actually is in her 70s now. And her whole brand is about don't retire, refire. And so it's really flipping the old concept of retirement on its head, because and I worked in nursing homes and in senior living communities for years as a physical therapist and in healthcare. And I really saw that. And there's actually a medical condition called apoptosis, where when you no longer have a purpose for getting out of bed every day, that your body just starts to die. The cells just start to die off. And it's a medical term. It's medically recognized. Apoptosis. I watched that happen to my father-in-law. I watched him just die after he retired, and then he could no longer play his golf because he had a painful neck condition, et cetera, et cetera. And his life just shrank and shrank and shrank. And then his body just started to shut down.
Again, that's the way you're telling me about it. I look at it, that's energy.
Yes.
It's energy, because it's the thoughts behind the whole process.
Yes. Yes.
The thoughts, what you think.
Yes.
It's so powerful.
Yes.
So powerful.
Yes.
And if you believe that you can't do anything anymore,
or you don't have value.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then you can't.
Yes.
And if that's the messages that your brain sends to the rest of your body, your cells are going to start dying.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating.
Yes.
We're going to read a lot more about the brain, and in the next few years.
Yes.
Slowly we see the articles coming out about the fact that we only use very little percentage of our brain, and the rest is not being used, etc. All that's going to change. It's all part of energy.
Yes, I think it's already changing. Certainly for me and the entrepreneurs I work with, it's about utilizing the information we have, utilizing these principles to create lives and businesses that we love to wake up to every day, right? Yeah. And using the power that we have as creators to create exactly what we want, exactly how we want it, and exactly when we want it.
And when we want it. Yeah. Correct.
And that's the power we have. So it's taking that power back and utilizing it, channeling it in a way that is beautiful. So I love that you, as a connector, it's like if we think of things in terms of coming back to energy, it's like you plug people into each other.
Yes. Absolutely. I connect.
Yes.
I connect. And there are a lot of people that go right away, they want to connect. And then the other people are it's interesting to watch how people react to that kind of connection when I go to events.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me because I watch it. There's some people that right away want to connect. Other people are they're not very sure if they want to connect or not. I'm sure you find the same thing.
Yes. And because of different reasons, right? Some people have been, are living in the past, so they're bringing past connections that didn't feel good or weren't uplifting, into it, and saying, oh, I got to be careful how I connect. So they're more tentative. And there's some people who just walk through the world wide open going, ooh, hi.
I know. That's me. I go right through.
Yes. I tend to be like that too. I was like, oh, well, but I wasn't always. I had many years where I pulled back and I had many layers.
Yes, because
to me, that's part of I
think that's the learning curve.
Yes.
It really is, because I think that's the learning curve all the way till you're around 40. You would take 35 to 40. And then suddenly we realize, oh, I want to do something else, or I want to behave differently, or want to think differently, or.
Yes.
But that And it hits all girls around that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We all go through the
recognize it.
same thing.
Somewhere between 38 and 40, I find. And I used to, and it was, so, and I have a young woman who comes to me at that point, and, you know, I always go, oh, you're getting ready.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
You're getting ready for that 40. That decade of taking, you know, really going, wait, I can choose for myself.
I know. And that's the time that the people get divorced.
Yes.
You know, because the girls suddenly say, oh, I really don't want to be with him anymore. That's it. The guys don't know what happens because guys are really simple. You know, they're simple creatures. But girls, that's what happens when they're about 38 to 40. You know.
Yeah. I love it.
Life is fascinating.
Life is fascinating. Oh my goodness, look at this. You know, we could sit here and we could talk I love that about you. I mean, we can just talk, and I love that about women, period, because it's how our brains work. We can just start on a thing and we can just take a journey. And we could just take a journey, and this journey has taken us through business, through women's issues, through cultural issues, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I thank you for it. My husband always used to say, wait, you've jumped over here now. I was like, yeah, because we were done. Now we're on to this. and he'd be like, wait. And I'll go, oh, that's what I love about women's brains. It's so much easier for us to navigate.
It's a very interesting article about our brains the other day. Girls think with 7 parts of the brain. Guys with 3. So it's not that they're less intelligent. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that their focus is different.
Right.
So if you want to tell your husband something, he's watching TV, you have to choose. Are you going to switch off the TV, or you're going to stand between the TV and him, because he can't focus. If he's focusing on the hockey game, now that Stanley Cup is going, if he's focusing on the hockey game, he can't focus on you too. You know, it's too difficult. And yet girls, we multitask.
Yes.
We have kids, we have cooking, we have dishes, we have this, we have that. Everything gets done, right? We multitask. We can do it. Plus, we can talk to somebody else at the same time.
Yes.
Guys can't do that. So we're made differently.
Yes, we are. They can learn though, and we can learn to be more focused.
Of course.
As well, you know, it's one of the things that I used to really pride myself on being able to do 6 things at the same time, because I have a mind that can actually have 3 different strains of focus going on at the same time. Like I can be in a conversation with somebody and thinking about something else, and I had to learn to harness and focus that energy, and even the mind, because like a laser beam, right? It's focused light, it's sharp. There are times when that's really, really useful. So it's been a journey for me. And it's one of the reasons I so love meditation, because I think it's one of the most powerful mind focusing tools. And so I've learned to focus and really harness the energy for when it serves me. There are times when it definitely serves, but yeah, I love being able to multitask as well. when I choose.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, Ricky. Well, thank you so much. Where can people find you? They're interested in connecting and getting connected and not having to wade through tons of information, and they're interested in events and having their events featured as well.
Well, yes. Once the thing about Inside Info Marketing is that if I subscribe to your website, your events are always going to be on the calendar.
Perfect.
I mean, it's not, you don't have to pay to be on my calendar, because I decide who is on my calendar. So if I subscribe to your website, automatically all your events, everything will be on my calendar. If you're interested in seeing what's on the calendar, then you subscribe.
Right.
So it's like a newsletter, like a newspaper. It's the same thing.
Yes.
The best way for them to find out is, of course, just to go on my website, insideinfomarketing.com. and they should definitely subscribe to the newsletter. That's complimentary. And in my newsletter, which comes out every Friday, I promote all my subscribers. I promote their businesses, their services, their telesummit, and people can find out a lot from the newsletter.
Yes.
If they want to find out more, then they have to subscribe to the calendar for events.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful.
And,
so
they can also
a completely free level, and then there's a paid level, and your paid level is also extremely reasonable, really.
Thank you.
Yes.
And the they can go on my website, and my telephone numbers are there. They can call me, and I answer the phone.
Yes,
and
you do.
Leave a message. I call back. That's all part of that whole service industry that I love.
Yes, beautiful.
We are in service of service to service.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yes, wonderful. Well, Brigitte, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And for those who are watching, I will put the link below this video so that you can make it, because it's all about making it easy, right?
all about, facilitating it.
Yes,
making it easier.
Yes.
It's a one-stop, one finger push, as I say.
Yes. We live in a world where it can be easy. It can be. Well, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you so much. And we will connect with you and keep connecting.
Okay.
Thank you, Brigitte.
Thank you so much, Helen. I'll speak with you soon.